underground facility 200 meters below Area 51. So, it's our lab where we're going to do some experiments. This is Professor Bob. Professor Bob, say hi. Okay, so, Harpreet, explain what we're going to be doing here today.
Wait, first let's go through our material. So we have our
microscope
and our magnifying glass. We have our cell fluids, more cell fluids, scissors.
We got a cell model. We have our professor,
and we have
expert on genetic modification.
And we have these
forceps.
little healthy things called forceps.
We have a sink, some electrocution cables, a mini motor, and our beverage supply. So, today we're going to be talking to you about GMOs and cloning. Lately, in the modern world, due to all the technological advances in technology, GMOs have become quite commonly produced. Due to all this technology, it has become fairly easy to produce a GMO.
At the time of this documentary, there has already been one successful clone, which is Dolly the sheep, and our professor Panwar will elaborate on that.
Okay, so Dolly the sheep was the first ever successfully cloned animal. Dolly was a sheep, and she was cloned through reproductive cloning, right?
Yes.
And today we are going to talk to you about the cloning processes and how GMOs are made and mass-produced.
2,000 years later.
Okay, so now we're going to make our very own GMO in our very own lab. Okay.
So, what we will need is a particle gun, also known as the gene gun, something to genetically modify, and in this demonstration we are using this apple.
Electrocution cables.
And to show you that it works, we
need a cell dispenser, petri dish, and a couple of cell fluids. Okay.
To show you that this electricity is real, we will turn this motor on.
Now, let me just go up close. I'm going to hook it to this part, hook it to that part, and it spins. So that's how we know that the motor is fully automated. So, now, Dr. Peruana, would you kindly fire the gene gun into the apple?
Yes. So, here we have our apple.
And we have to carefully aim the gene gun because the gene gun has a pellet that is coated with DNA of another organism that we want in our apple. So,
and it is shot.
And it is shot, as you can see here.
And there are bubbles around because the work is doing its work.
Because the fluids are leaking. Okay, so now what we need to do is carefully cut the apple. Okay, so now that we've cut it, split it open, then all we have to do is pull out this one seed. Okay, so now that we have a seed, we shall put it in this petri dish. Dr. Peruana, could you kindly take out the nucleus of this seed?
Remember, we have to be very, very careful with this.
And put the nucleus for cellular disposal.
There we go.
And then we need to pull out a nucleus from one of these cell fluids.
There we are.
And we need to inject it into the seed.
And again, you have to be very, very careful.
Okay, so now all we have to do is seal it and make it airtight for a little while. And then our next step is to plant it and our GMO apple tree will grow. Just sealing it. And that is the entire process.
Later, many months later.
Reproductive cloning is when you clone a full body of a human or animal, and you don't need male or female intercourse to produce that baby. And right here we have Mr. Bob, and he's gonna tell us some facts.
Now I'm taking a male specimen and putting it into a female embryo. Now we're gonna wait until the fetus is fully born.
Tomorrow for sure. Eventually.
Now Professor Malik is gonna help the female brown bear to give birth. So, make it push. Slowly, and make sure the head comes out first.
Yeah, I see the head.
You see the head?
Yeah. And
Careful. And there we go. A successful baby clone of its biological father, which was the brown bear from which the cell specimen was taken and implanted into this female's embryo. So, that's reproductive cloning. Now to move on to therapeutic cloning.
A few inches later.
Hello. And now we are going to move on to therapeutic cloning. So this is the procedure to therapeutic cloning. So, as you can see, this brown bear does not have a leg. It has lost its leg due to some sort of disease, let's say. So, what we will do to clone that leg is to take the cell from here, from this leg, and then we take a stem cell, which we have here. Not a stem cell, an embryo, and then we mix it together, and that's our embryonic stem cell. And we take that embryonic stem cell and we put it in the leg that is not growing or is lost. And then soon we will see the leg grow back. Since this is just an example, it is not how fast it actually grows in real life. It takes a while, but it will grow back.
Eventually, if the process was done correctly and if it grows back perfectly, we know that our experiment was a success.
And the leg will be fully functional and everything.
Okay, so now we move on to our conclusion. And no, wait, not our conclusion. Wait, I'll just put the part out. Now we move on to the advantages and now we move on to the disadvantages of our topic.
Several bad puns later.
Now, the advantages and the disadvantages of our topic, which is GMOs and cloning. An issue that threatens our modern world. Okay, so our first disadvantage is that GM plants, or genetically modified plants, pass on their traits into other crops that we don't want those traits to go into. For example, there is a specialized tomato which can last in freezing temperatures because it is given the DNA of an Alaskan fish. But that tomato is passing on its traits to other crops which don't need to survive in freezing temperature. So, Dr. Perwana will add a little more to that.
So what happens is they take the genes from an Alaskan fish, which can survive in cold temperatures, and put them in tomatoes, which can not survive in cold temperatures. So as they go on and survive, the seeds, they spread the modification of genetics into all the other plants around it, and that infects the other crops, and they become catch the genetic traits from the fish as well.
So, the next disadvantage is genetically modified allergies or allergies that can appear while consuming genetically modified products.
So what this means is that people that are that are allergic to fish cannot eat those tomatoes because they're allergic to fish, since they have the genes of the fish. So if you're allergic to the fish and you eat it, you'll have an allergic reaction, you could die, and a lot of stuff can happen.
Suffocate.
And another big disadvantage is that genetically modified plants / crops / any organism that gets infected with that trait is immune to herbicide and pesticide. So whenever we want to kill the germs off our crops, they don't come off. So they are now fully protected due to that GM trait that has been implanted in them from eating that GMO. And those were our disadvantages. Now to move on to the advantages. So, the advantages of GMO and cloning are pretty much endless if you think about it only in a positive way. But earlier we described the disadvantages. So, Dr. Perwana will now describe some advantages of GMOs and cloning.
So one advantage of GMOs are that, as we said in our disadvantage, they take genetics from a fish that survives in cold weather, put them in a tomato that could survive cold weather. Well, that can survive cold weather, but then with the genes it survives cold weather. This is good for farmers because, well, they can have all year round sales and grow crops for their families if that's what they do.
And an advantage of cloning is that that cloning can help cure many diseases by getting a stem cell from the infected part of someone's body and then purifying it, putting it in an embryo, letting it develop, and then putting it back in the infected spot, so that new cell spreads and overpowers the let's say bad cells. For example, if someone has cancer, cancer is due to bad cells or unhealthy cells spreading throughout a specific part of someone's body. So, if we take a stem cell from that specific part of the body that has not been infected yet, and we make an embryo out of it, and we make more cells, and we make cells faster than the cancer cells can produce themselves, and we implant it back, that could cure the person. And it would have less side effects than other cancer treatments, such as chemotherapy and radiation. So those are our main advantages and disadvantages.
Hey, what happened? Sorry guys, we have to go. Monsanto's planning to take a bomb outside our facility. Stop us from warning you about their dangerous GMOs. Later.
A few moments later.